You didn't earn a dime of that cash. Stop pretending Grandma favored you just because you fixed her leaky pipes. That is what my father coldly declared after wiping out the $115,000 my grandmother specifically bequeathed to me. He emptied the entire account in 8 days, using it to fund his new wife's failing luxury boutique and buy a ridiculously overpriced speedboat. He actually had the nerve to tell me I should consider it back rent for the years I lived under his roof. I didn't scream or throw a fit right then. So, I walked straight into the office of the estate attorney, and I systematically dismantled his perfect new life over the next 18 months. For 5 solid years, I was the grandson who showed up at Grandma's house every Tuesday at exactly 6 p.m. Even when she was transferred to assisted living, I was there. We would sit by her window and watch the boats in the distance. She always asked about my marine mechanic apprenticeship and my ultimate dream to lease the abandoned maritime warehouse on Pier 44 in Seattle. My grandfather used to run a shipping company out of that exact building back in the 80s. She never stopped dreaming about seeing our family name back on that pier. When she passed away in January, her attorney contacted me immediately. Grandma left a specific $115,000 inheritance solely in my name. The strict condition was that the funds had to be used for a commercial property lease. My dad and aunt received heavily reduced cash payouts. My stepbrother Mason was completely cut out. Because I was out of the country on a salvage job, the funds went into a temporary escrow account that my father had signing authority over to facilitate the final wire transfer. Standard 10-day holding period. I assumed some basic level of parental decency still existed. It was a catastrophic misjudgment. On February 14th, I drove down to the commercial leasing office to secure the warehouse. I called the bank to authorize the cashier's check. The teller told me the available balance was exactly $42.50. I drove to my dad's house in a blinding fog of rage. My dad was in the driveway buffing the hull of a brand new speedboat. My stepmother Diane was on the porch ordering imported leather displays for her boutique. I walked up the driveway and demanded to know where my $115,000 went. That is when he delivered that vile line. Diane smirked, telling me to stop being dramatic. Mason walked out, grabbed a beer, and told me to get off their property before they called the cops. I turned and walked away. What none of those thieves realized was that Grandma had given me her late husband's antique pocket watch before her heart gave out. Tucked inside the brass casing was a micro SD card. It contained a brutal, high-definition 40-minute meeting between Grandma and her financial planner. She explicitly named my father, stating he was a financial predator, that the money was strictly for my maritime business, and that if my father intercepted it, the attorney must pursue maximum legal destruction. The next morning, I played the video in the estate lawyer's office. He went dead silent, locked his door, and started making calls. By Thursday, a massive civil injunction was slapped on my father, freezing every asset. By Monday, the district attorney filed first-degree grand theft charges. Because the stolen amount exceeded the state minimum, it was classified as a severe felony carrying mandatory minimums. I blocked their numbers completely. The legal fallout was merciless. When state auditors dug into Diane's boutique to trace the stolen money, they discovered rampant tax fraud. The state seized her entire business inventory. Mason panicked when he realized the speedboat was parked in his name. To avoid accessory charges, he handed over text messages where my dad admitted to draining the account, throwing his stepdad under the bus instantly. A year later, my father pleaded guilty to felony grand theft and got 30 months in prison. Diane's boutique was liquidated, leaving her bankrupt. The civil courts forced the sale of the speedboat and their home to restore my $115,000. On August 22nd, I signed the lease for the warehouse on Pier 44. The attorney met me there with a sealed package Grandma left in his vault. I read her handwritten letter sitting on a wooden crate. Then I walked to the edge of the pier and poured a splash of her favorite whiskey into the dark water. She finally got our family back to the harbor, exactly where we belonged.